Hi everyone, I'm Sandy Duncan, intuitive medium, and welcome to our first ever interview with three of the key people from the hit TV series Rescue Mediums. For anyone unfamiliar, Rescue Mediums was filmed from 2006 to 2011 and can still be seen in many countries around the world and on YouTube. Mediums went to people's homes that were being disturbed by spirits and rescued them into the light. Today we're going to hear some fascinating first-hand accounts of what it was like to be part of this groundbreaking TV show. It is my honor to introduce to you the lovely Edna Dargie, Director of Research, the incredible Michael Lamport, producer, narrator, and writer, and the unstoppable Jackie Dennison, rescue medium, international clairvoyant medium, and psychic artist. Welcome, everybody.
Thanks, Sandy.
Good to see everybody.
Yeah, nice to see you guys too.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
you have some questions for us, I believe, Sandy.
Yeah, I thought today we would talk about the scariest moments in the show or throughout the series. And I was wondering if you could speak to some of the scariest moments and maybe even some of the scariest moments that didn't make it to air.
Oh gosh, that's an interesting one, isn't it? There's lots of moments. Well, what about Michael? What about for you? Because you sort of go into the places you and Edna go in beforehand, don't you? Before,
yep.
You know. So what sort of scary moments were there for you actually going into? And then maybe Edna, you could tell us your scary moment as well.
Okay. Well, for those watching. One of the scariest moments, like right now, which isn't about the show, is I'm in the city of Toronto in Canada, and we are in quarantine, so we're sort of locked down. So one of the scariest moments is I'm not locked down with my hairdresser, who is my niece, and unfortunately, cutting hair doesn't run in the family. But for me, the two scariest episodes for me were Wolf Island and Churchill Mansion. Churchill Mansion was in the province of Nova Scotia. Wolf Island is an island off of the coast of Kingston, Ontario. And they were the two scariest ones that I felt inside for me. Yeah.
Can you think of a particular incident, Michael?
Oh my God. Well, I mean, the first thing was that Wolf Island is this giant house surrounded by 3 graveyards. So that was sort of weird in itself. And the place just felt uneasy. It felt, I guess, disquieted is the word, because what we found out, or what Jackie and at that time Christine found out, was that there was the ghost of a priest there, and he'd done some pretty bad stuff, and I think he was still lurking around. So you sort of get chills down your spine when you were in there. And then in Churchill Mansion in Nova Scotia, for me, it was, I almost can't explain it. It was just scary walking around the place, because you always I felt somebody was watching me. And at the end of the show, as a gift to the homeowner, Bob, I took down the picture of one of the spirits that was in the house. There was a photograph of I think it was Lottie, and took it to a place to get the picture framed as a gift to him. And it was pretty weird driving the car with a photograph of a ghost in the back seat. So at one point I had to stop and turn the picture around because I was like, whoa, who's that looking at me in the mirror? So, but in all seriousness, it was very scary, and scarier for some of our crew, because they were unable to sleep in the rooms they were in. So that, for me, those were the two most scariest things. I mean, a lot of them have been scary, don't get me wrong, but they were the two that stand out in my mind right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would have to agree with Michael on those two shows as being particularly scary. But it's interesting with Wolf Island. It was one of the very first shows that we did, and it was all very new. And the whole experience of working with spirit was brand new to me. And at that point, I really didn't understand how important it was to be grounded and protected going into a place. So for Wolf Island, I think all of us were kind of taken aback and unsure of what was going to happen. The camera was picking up orbs, and the whole place and atmosphere just was scary before we even really got into it. And I think as time progressed with different shows, it became more of the norm, so that it wasn't as frightening. We kind of understood what we were going into. We felt we were protected and safe in the different places we went to. But it certainly wasn't as scary as that was at the very beginning. Now, Churchill Mansion we had worked on for quite a while, and it was terrifying, I think, for us, because the spirit seemed to connect even with the crew itself. I can remember one incident when we were walking along and filming. This was well before the rescue, and the crew was filming the different rooms. We were going from room to room, and we heard water running in a room. I don't know if you remember this, Michael.
Yes, I do.
And one of the crew members opened up the door. The room was full of steam. It was just blasting out. And somehow, there was an attached bathroom in there. The faucet in the bathtub was turned on full force, and it must have been for some time because the room was just full of steam. Well, how did that happen? There was absolutely no one else there but the crew. So there were so many incidences that were really scary, and I can go on and on.
You know what's interesting though as well, because as I'm listening to both of you talking about that, you know, it comes back to your mind, and that bathroom incident was it really was, because there was no one else there at all except us, and I think it was Stefan, one of the cameramen, who shouted us, and he's a very grounded personality, you know, and he would, you know, he'd say, oh, well, there's a reason for this has happened, or this has happened. There was no reason for that whatsoever. It was quite an unnerving place altogether. That was the place as well where I got pinched on my bottom.
Oh, yeah.
The spirit actually pinched my bottom.
Yeah, it wasn't me.
It definitely wasn't you.
You know, whenever I visited Churchill Mansion before the show was started, Michael and I would often go to the place before, just to meet the homeowners and to vet it out, and to see if, yes, this is indeed worthy of our show, and some real incidences happening. And I remember we were sitting in, the place was completely closed down, and Bob had come in just to open it up. And we were sitting in one part, having a meal, I believe, with him. And we started, I looked at Michael, and he looked at me, because we heard piano music playing, a piano playing. There was a piano in the next room. And Bob Benson, the homeowner, he just kind of looked at us and smiled and nodded. Yep, that's what happens here. The piano's playing again.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, there was so many things that happened like that at Churchill. It was amazing.
It'd be good to go back to see what it's like now.
Oh, it's changed, I'm afraid. But you know, I did go back many times, even after the show. I kept going back to Churchill Mansion just to visit it. in Nova Scotia, and then a remarkable place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think those are the scariest moments for me anyway, like we just talked about those two. But there were many others, and Jackie probably remembers them even better than I do, that and so many things that we couldn't put on TV because, as I always say to people, which is unfortunate, at that time, if it gets renewed, it may be different. But at that time, the show was only half an hour for TV, which on TV terms, I think is 23 minutes and 30 seconds, something like that. And so we had to select only a few of the things that actually happened to make it into the show. But there were so many other things. Like on Churchill Mansion, I remember the graveyard. I think it was the grave of the captain, wasn't it? And there was all this mysterious mist and smoke around it. And then there was a lady of the lake, and none of that could make it into the show, which is really sad because as a producer, you want all these great moments to be in everything. And so at one point, we were thinking of making a 2 parts, like, you know, Churchill Mansion Part 1, Churchill Mansion Part 2, but the broadcaster basically poo-pooed that idea. So he just went with the one, which is still very good. And if you watch it, you can watch it on YouTube. It's still scary, I think.
Yeah, I think with that, I do remember that. I do remember the graveyard. And one of the things that I do remember is that it was Aaron Churchill.
Yes.
Whose grave is there. And we had to take him to his grave to show him his name.
That's right.
Before he went, oh my goodness, yeah, I'm dead. and what,
yeah,
because we want the spirit to overshadow us so that we can tell the story, you know, so that we can get the story out quicker. So we allow them as mediums to overshadow us, but, you know, we're still sort of in control of that. So he overshadowed me and we had to take him to the grave. And the minute that he left me, I hit the deck on the grave. It's not really the healthiest of places to be, is it? You know, falling over a gravestone. But, you know, obviously we couldn't show that. And all of that is part of the same story. But the strongest story, of course, was Lottie. And so in that particular episode, that's what we had to do. We had to follow that story. But yeah, we could have had 2 hours of Churchill. It was.
Oh, yeah.
Easily. A movie.
A movie of Churchill, I like it. Does that answer your question, Sandy?
Yeah, that's been it's now I've got other questions. So Jackie, when you would be overshadowed, was there ever a conscious thought or a fear that you wouldn't come out of it?
I think when it very first started happening, this is before we did the show, before even the show, because this is something that's we've always allowed to happen, not just to me, but Christine and Alison. Well. It's in order to get the story told as quickly as possible. Sometimes you have to walk in their shoes. And so with the show, we have a very tight timeline. So we have to get the story out there. And it can be a little bit distressing because you're feeling their pain. So if they're really upset and really frustrated and upset and anxious, then you're feeling that. If they have pain, you're feeling their pain in whichever way it comes in. So you have to try and separate yourself from that and allow it to happen. So I've got some really good guides, spirit guides, and they would never allow me to be in a dangerous situation that I would be able to harm myself. I mean, I've been flung on the floor, I've been thrown against the wall. I recall one incident, an episode with a soldier, I think it was Alliston, and it was a First World War soldier, and he was still marching, God love him, and we had to get him through his light. He was marching up and down this corridor, and we had to get him through the light. So we showed him where the light was. We opened the doorway and showed him where the light was. But I had to physically get hold of him and walk with him. And I thought, any minute now, I'm just going to walk straight into that wall, and that would have been quite painful, obviously. But just before,
Wow.
he actually left me, but I hit the deck, and I remember everybody running around and, are you all right? And I think I was actually out for a little while, and Christine was shouting for somebody to get some water, and they came and brought me water. But then we're all right after that. But it can be it can leave you feeling very emotional, because it takes a lot your energy to be able to work with them in that way. I think it's more distressing for everybody else.
Right.
Yeah.
Edna, you had mentioned the piano playing when you and Michael were there. It reminds me of the episode called Possession on YouTube. And that one had running water that turned on by itself. Can you describe the ripple effect or the effect on cast and crew when spirit would intervene and something would happen that wasn't anticipated?
Is that too Edna?
Just think on that. Which episode was that?
Oshawa.
It happened a lot, but I was thinking of the one called Possession, which I think was Brampton.
Oh, I thought it was Oshawa. Sorry.
It is Oshawa. It is Oshawa. I think, is that the one where?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, where she feels as though there's lots of energy coming in. She can feel the energy around, and it's shot out through the window to the outside. And I think the neighbour's little boy had seen it as well, hadn't he? Yeah. Right.
I think with the crew, with those kinds of incidents, they, as we continued with the show, again, it was normalizing for them. They were hoping that would happen to make a really good show. They were hoping that the doors would open by themselves on camera, that we could get this stuff on camera. And so I think at a certain point, everyone felt safe, and they wanted all of these scary physical things to actually happen. Mm-hmm. But it does make me think of Peterborough, where the sword, with all the swords were there.
Yeah.
That was again very unnerving for them. And Mike, our big camera guy, he actually, and it was they did keep that in the episode, where he actually collapsed to the floor. And I think that was a message to everyone. Yeah, we've got to be really do our grounding and protection exercises before we start any show at all.
But one of the great things about that was that the other camera person, Stefan, like if you see somebody falling to the floor and being overtaken or something by anything, you want to run and help them. And so, but I don't know if it was me who said it or my business partner, Gregory, but we just said, no, hang on a minute. And Stefan just kept rolling. Yeah. And then we went to Michael. So if Michael is watching this, I apologize that we didn't come to your aid immediately. But as Edna says, it did make for a pretty astounding episode.
Jim, do you know what about that as well is because Christina and I were working with the spirit trying to get him through to the light, and he was difficult to work with. The fact that there was a wall full of swords behind us was very unnerving anyway, because I think I'd got swords written down in the premonitions, and we walked in and there the swords are on the wall.
Yeah.
We were working with this gentleman, and we saw his energy start to move towards him, and we thought, right, okay, he's going through the light, this is great. But he didn't. He changed direction and he started to walk towards Mike, the cameraman. And just as we were watching that happen, that just hit the deck. He's a big guy as well, you know, and he's a very grounded sort of person. But it did teach everybody that, you know, this is serious stuff, where, you know, this is real, you know, and we needed to ground and protect before every episode, which is what we did with everyone.
Yeah, many people often ask about how real is rescue mediums, because people have seen a lot of these spirit shows, and I hate to say it, but some of them are really set up, and rescue mediums is not set up. I mean, I can tell you as one of the creators and producer that the Jackie, and whether it's Christine or Alison, they never know where they're going. Mm-hmm. They make premonitions about where they're going themselves with no hints from me, Edna, my business partner, Gregory, like nobody. And so there is a sort of, not sort of, there is a definite reality to rescue mediums. And of course, people that are completely cynical about spirit would say like, yeah, well, you know, I mean, what can you do? Can you prove any of this? Well, from my point of view, and I'm certain from everybody else's, is yes, we can, because we experienced it. It is something that actually occurred with us, and we put it on camera so that the viewer could see it. And I'd love people that are cynical to take another look at it, and don't look at it for flaws. Oh no, please do look at it for flaws, but it may change your mind if you revisit it, because it is real.
Well, to my knowledge, you were the only show that actually backed up with research, visible research, to the homeowners and to the viewers at the same time. The reaction of the homeowners was undeniable when they could see the records and the photos and explain. No one had gone to those lengths that I know of.
No, they hadn't.
So hats off.
Thank you. No, nobody had gone to that length before. And with the research and the backup, that's thanks to Edna. That was a very, very, maybe you'd like to talk a bit about that, Edna. That was a very, very tiresome and demanding function.
Yes, I would be given, along with Michael, we would identify where we were going and which home. And of course, Jackie and Christine or Alison would have no idea until actually arrived at the doorstep. But my job was to gather as much information ahead of time about the homeowners, about the land. I would research the history of the land back to Crown, just in case they discovered something that was connected with the house way back in its history, or with the land or the area right around the place. I would go through the homeowners' family histories, just in case perhaps one of their relatives was visiting, or maybe not needing rescue, but maybe even they were there to help or making a spirit connection in some way. I would visit archives, museums, the land registry offices, everything I could possibly think of ahead of time, and get a great big stack of information that might be useful depending on what the mediums found. And I literally had, from the time of they knocked on the door on day 1, and we had 4 days of filming. And day 2, at the end of day 2, they did the rescue. I would then have about 24 hours to connect with all of my research and confirm and make the connections with whomever they'd rescued. So it was a challenge.
Well, it's more of a challenge, Edna, if having found all of that research, and then the spirit that we connected with had nothing to do with any of the research. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's happened a lot of times. And I honestly, hold my hat off to you. I don't know how you pulled it together in the time frames that you did. I mean, literally, Sandy, she was walking around behind the cameraman with the headset on, actually transcribing everything that we wrote down. So she would write down, you know, if one of us said the name Margaret, she would write Margaret down. If one of us said, oh, I feel as though, you know, this person would have been wearing clothes that look like this, she would write that down, because they were all clues as to who we were communicating with. And then as soon as the rescue had finished, off she'd go researching, and she would research often right through into the early hours of the morning, trying to find a connection, or even getting back to the record offices, trying to find a connection where the, you know, the story is, to try and pull it together. And it might have been, she might not have researched anything like that in the first instance. And literally, Edna, you were bringing it together at the 11th hour.
There were some shows where that did happen, where suddenly we know we have to go on camera and reveal the information to the homeowners, let's say in a couple of hours, and uh-oh, what are we going to do? And just find it. And it was wonderful.
Yeah.
A little stressful, but it was very exciting.
You had help from Doris, though, didn't you? Our spirit helper.
Yes, I had a spirit helper called Doris, and Doris, I'm not quite sure where Doris is. She's not where she's supposed to be.
Okay.
But you had done a wonderful portrait of Doris, and when I find her, she will be. I'll share it with you. But she's a very strict-looking lady from the 50s with glasses and a suit on, and she's very proper and organized and efficient.
Mm-hmm.
And we love Doris.
We love Doris.
It sounds like Edna's timelines were maybe part of the scariest moments of rescue mediums. It sounds like a lot of pressure. I'd like to ask you, Jackie.
Yes.
Why does it seem like the top floor and the basement of a home seems to be where there's the most spirit activity, or the scariest?
Did you say the top or the basement, or which is the scariest?
Why are they both scary compared to the rest of the house?
It's scary anywhere in a haunted house. You know, it just, sometimes the basement connects because of the land, you know, so we're not connecting with the basement of the house, we're connecting with actually the land. So it's the heaviest vibration, if you like, to the land. And, you know, if you are running away from something, you'll try and find, you know, hidey places to run away. So sometimes with spirit, they think they're no different, because spirit have been human. And so, you know, so the human traits are still there, because that's the spirit within. So it's like, where can I hide? Where will they never think of looking for me? Oh, we'll go to the basement, because, you know, they don't like spiders and they don't like going into places. So that is their fear factor. We'll go and hide in the basement. So, and the same with like with the, with maybe the attic. Are they trying to get away from us? Are they trying to go to a place that's more enlightened, you know, or are they just trying to find a place to hide? So we've done rescues in every part of the home. It just happens to be that the basement figures quite a lot in things for a variety of reasons. But one of them is definitely the land. It's not the house, it's the land that they connect with.
Yeah, that's true. And what's interesting about that too, Sandy and Jackie and Edna, is that when you go to watch a horror movie or anything like that, it seems to be always the basement that is scary as, excuse my language, scary as crap. It's, you know, it's where you end up getting trapped, murdered, or attacked, which also is not really true in the real life of spirit, because spirit, I mean, I personally, and Jackie said this to me once. When you look at some of the movies that are paranormal, and the spirit's doing all these incredible things that are threatening people and everything like that, in real paranormal life, that happens extremely rarely, in my opinion. It happens great for Hollywood and great for scary TV shows, but not ours, because we believe in helping the spirit and not, not threatening it or going against it. We let the spirit, Jackie lets the spirit speak to her so that she can help the spirit go into the light, or if they want to hang around for protection of the living, then they're quite welcome to do that. So long as they don't go into the basement and scare the heck out of the homeowner.
Ridgetown was one of those. Ridgetown was one of those with the basement, and that was a spirit who was running away. He in the bar, and he was quite aggressive. I think he punched me. He punched me in the face, and I think he pinched Alison as well. And we had to follow him down to the basement in order to find out where he was. And he tried to choke me in the basement, but he used bully boy tactics because that's what he was familiar with. But when we got to talk to him, and that was one of the shows where it was nearly stopped. I think Alison was quite distraught with what was happening there, because I was literally choking in front of her, and the crew nearly stopped the filming because of what was happening. But it was just a case of finding out what his Achilles heel was, what the guy's weakness was, why was he doing this? And so that's another reason for overshadowing, allowing the overshadowing to happen, is to, why are you doing this? What is your reason behind it? And eventually we got to why he was doing that. And I think it was his mother who came for him in spirit. And as she came for him, he became this little boy again, a happy moment of waiting for his and she took him through. That's great teamwork, because I think Alison was saying, what is your happiest memory? Think of your happiest memory. And the happiest memory was of being with his mother. So because of that connection that, we were working together and our guides were working, his mum was able to come forward and take him forward. And then, the basement wasn't scary anymore because he wasn't there. But the homeowner had felt that presence in the basement. So yeah, that's another basement story. We should have the basement stories.
Yes. That could be a new series.
It could be. Okay.
Well, by what you've just said, Jackie, to me, it sounds like trust is what can overcome the scary moments. When the spirit trusts you and you trust them and the crew.
Yeah. Do you know what was so great about our team? And I say team with this because Rescue Mediums is a team. It's a team effort. So it would be myself and either Christine or Alison and our guides, but also the team that we work with, because we have the most amazing team. And this is a team that worked together right from the word go. So, we were familiar with working with the camera guys and the sound guys, and with Edna and with Michael and Gregory, and it was a family. Rescue Mediums is a family, and we all trust each other, absolutely 100%. So if one of the camera guys was to say, I feel uncomfortable in here, we would go, oh, okay, yeah, we trust that. If either I or Alison or I or Christine was to say, I see, a pink elephant in that corner, even if the other one didn't see the pink elephant, we would absolutely believe it, because we have trust in each other in what are. We're not there to showcase anything. We're there to help, and it's very much teamwork. The team on the earth plane, but the team in spirit as well, our spirit guides, and that's why the show is so successful, because everybody works in an authentic way, and everybody is able to trust what the other one is sensing or feeling. I think that's why it works so much with Edna and Michael going to view the properties beforehand, because they know instinctively when they walk into somewhere whether the homeowner, are they just doing this because they want to be on TV, or is there something else going on? Would you agree, Michael and Edna, with that?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, the only reason that I'm occasionally in the show and Edna is occasionally in the show is because we are portraying the spirits that Jackie and Alison, or Jackie and Christine, are seeing. Earlier in this interview, Jackie talked about the marching soldier going up and down the halls in this small town of Alliston. And in the episode, we do see a marching soldier. It's not the ghost that Jackie sees. It's me being shot in a negative camera. But that isn't meant to be in any way manipulative or confusing. It's just to visually illustrate what Jackie or one of the other mediums is seeing, because TV, don't forget, is a visual medium. So, I mean, one day, if we do more episodes, and I hope we do, it would be great to actually catch something like that on film.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've seen it with our eyes, but it's hard to get the spirit to do a retake. Like, you know, would you mind going down to that basement one more time while I get the camera on?
You know, we did catch, we caught a few things though, because I remember St. Mary's, when we did St. Mary's, and Christine and I were sat at the top of the stairs.
Yeah.
Sensed a spirit walking behind, and I think we actually caught orbs on camera.
Yes.
On that occasion. And another occasion that really springs to mind as well is when we were in Sparta, and we were trying to get into the bedroom door, and the spirit had locked the bed.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Locked. And as we were trying to get in, the cupboard behind us flung open, and we got that on camera as well. And no one was near it. No one was anywhere near it. And the bedroom door eventually opened, you know, and that was really weird. Yeah, we've been in some weird situations.
Michael, do you ever feel that spirit was influencing on editing or the process of reviewing what you had already shot for the episode?
Well, that's a very interesting question. I would have to say occasionally, yes, it was. Because, I mean, spirit is aware of a lot of things, more than we are as corporeal beings. And so, yeah, I think sometimes we were guided by spirit to get always we were guided by spirit to get the right stuff on camera. That's my feeling. And now with doing this, perhaps spirit is guiding us all to do this right now, to see where this goes. So yeah, in answer to your question, I would say yes. Spirit is very very present.
And I'm so curious from all of you, if people are watching this, they feel their home is being disturbed or their family members are being disturbed by spirit, can you give them like a one thing, the main thing they should do to make everybody feel better?
You know, it really depends on what's happening in the home, because sometimes it can be a spirit member that's trying to help. You know, maybe there's some disruption going on in the family, and there's a spirit member that, you know, a family member in spirit that wants to help. But I think, you know, it's important to be able to, I keep going about grounding, you know, being very grounded. It's important to ground yourself so that you are not you, Sandy, obviously, but, you know, to whoever's listening to this, that that we don't go, oh, the door's opening, oh, that's got to be spirit in the house. no, there is a window open somewhere, so it's blown the door. It's about being practical, and I think that's why Rescue Mediums works in the way that it does, because we're practical. We look at practical reasons for why something. Is there a, oh, there's cold in the corner? Well, there's an air vent in the wall, so you know going to be, there's a cold draft in the corner there, or there's a light shining on a wall at a certain time every night, and it's our Johnny and whatever. No, it's actually not. It's the street light that's come on outside. So, you know, it's about being practical and ruling things out practically. And if all of that has been done, then, you know, grounding, making sure that you're, you know, you imagine that your feet are planted to the ground and that you've got roots growing into the ground so that you are very grounded, protecting that level of energy so that you are safe, not safe from spirit, but safe from any negative thoughts, because we can create our own negative thoughts as well, you know. And then, you know, if you do feel that are a spirit in the house, ask them why are they there. You know, if a stranger walked into your house, you'd go, hey, what are you doing here? What do you want? You know? So you just treat spirit just in the same way, you know, and if all that fails, call Rescue Mediums.
That's right.
we need more episodes, so call Rescue Mediums. Yes.
Well, Sandy, I don't know, but I think our time is nearly up, isn't it?
It really is nearly up. So
should we close?
Yeah. Do you have one last question in particular to anybody?
I was just going to ask about the mirrors in the homes, and if Michael and Edna were drawn to them on the initial interview, and if you, as a rescue medium, were drawn to them on your investigation.
Well, for me, I was drawn sometimes to a mirror, but I was often more drawn towards a painting on the wall or a sculpture of some sort, more than mirrors for me.
I would agree. I don't think that mirrors really were an issue for me at all. I think I was so involved with connecting with the people and what they had to say and the general situation. There wasn't a particular object or anything. I don't think that really made a difference for me.
I think for me, unless mirrors came up in the premonitions or we were aware of something while we were walking around, it wouldn't have been, we wouldn't have, you know, looked at something. One of the things that we sort of laughed about is the fact that we would put a mirror on the wall. Well, you know, where else is a mirror going to be? You know, that, oh, look, there's a mirror, it's on the wall. But they could be an issue. Of course, they could be an issue. But I think it's not initially when you just walk in that you are connected to that, unless it's been part of our premonitions beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
Some really interesting questions there, Sandy. Thank you for this.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you to everybody.
I've enjoyed it. So we should do it again.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We'll do, once we get this more structured. So for the viewer now, we will do this periodically. And I mean, today's theme was about scariest moments sort of thing, but the themes can be about anything. And for those of you that would like to see or re-look at Rescue Mediums, please check it out on, I think you can get every episode now on YouTube. And if you're in a different country, it's probably still playing on your regular TV station somewhere. But thanks all for watching.
Yeah, maybe viewers can you know, contact you, Michael or Sandy, with questions.
Yeah, so they can go to rescuemediums.com.
Yep.
And put it on our website, and we will check that periodically.
Fabulous. So thank you, Sandy, for organising this today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sandy.
Okay.
Thank you all very, very much. Such an important show and needed now more than ever. So thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Bye.
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 Bye.